Muse, there's something different I want to talk to you about today. It shouldn't come as any surprise, but it is relatable to me as an author and me as an artist in general. This is a script. In particular, it's a script for Die, Mommy, Die, a play by Charles Busch, a comic thriller. This comic melodrama evokes the 1960s movie thrillers that featured such aging cinematic icons as Bette Davis, Joan Crawford, Lana Turner, and Susan Hayward. Faded pop singer Angela Andrews is trapped in a corrosive marriage to film producer Saul Sussman. In her attempt to find happiness with her younger lover, an out-of-work TV star Angela murders her husband with the aid of a poison suppository. In a plot that reflects both Greek tragedy and well as Hollywood folklore, Angela's resentful daughter Edith convinces Angela's emotionally disturbed son Lance to avenge her father's death and blah, 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 blah. And ladies and gentlemen, I will be playing Angela. That's right. In typical fashion with a Charles Busch play, the leading role is played by a man. The leading role is always a woman. I've done a Charles Busch play before, The Vampire Lesbians of Sodom. And yes, I played a woman in that as well. I just heard shenanigans upstairs, thanks to one of our cats. But that's not what I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about me playing a woman, which actually should help people to understand why I am able to write female characters as well as I do, because I've played women plenty of times on stage. What is that saying about me? I don't know. By the way, you'll have to pardon my voice. It is really bad allergy season right now here in the old Ohio Valley. I can barely breathe and I can barely talk. But hey, this is not about a pity party. What I want to talk to you about is, I think it's interesting. It's fascinating. Fascinating. Utterly and completely fascinating. So, it's been a long time since I've been on stage. Way too long. And the last time I was on stage, well, I was a member of a repertory company. A repertory company is a theater that has a small collection of actors that they use these actors throughout the entire season. They just put them in different roles. And our rehearsals were generally from 10 until 6, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And 5 days a week, 6 days a week, actually. Well, 5 days a week. Something like that. It's been a while. Anyway, so I was at work all day rehearsing plays. And the plays, they would rehearse for 2 weeks, and then we would open. And to some people that sounds crazy, but you have to remember it was almost 10 hours a day of rehearsal. So the way it kind of worked was we would get a new script. There was very little chance of reading a script beforehand. We got the scripts first rehearsal. We dove right in. And in the process of running these scenes over and over and over again, it was very easy to not only memorize your lines, but memorize your lines while you're developing your character. So it made the process incredibly easy. Now, that was a long time ago. And I was effectively in my 30s. Now I'm not in my 30s. And we start rehearsal on this show in about a week. And I got the script early so I could start memorizing my lines, because my brain doesn't work as well as it did when I was in my 30s. Now, here's the difference, and this is what I want to address. So I'm working on my lines, and of course my wife is like, when am I going to get to hear Angela? And of course my response is, I don't know her yet. I haven't created this character yet. All I'm doing right now is trying to memorize these lines cold so I can go in and feel like I have some modicum of preparation on the first day of rehearsal. On top of which, I don't want to have to be behind in memorizing my lines. Now, of course, for someone like me, memorizing lines cold has never been an easy process. For me, I always associate my lines with action or with relationships between characters. And so, to me, the process had always been discovering the character, and along the way of discovering the characters, the lines just kind of gotten memorized. I didn't have to spend a whole lot of time going, oh, okay, whoa, what's that level? No, and I don't work well that way, but I kind of have to this time. And what this reminds me of is kind of how I write. When I'm writing a new book, or when I'm writing a book that requires a new character, I don't know those characters until this is going to sound really stupid, but I don't know those characters until I know them. I don't know how to write them until I know them, until I know what they're all about. And sometimes the addition of a new character happens in such a way where it's almost like there's placeholder dialogue. And eventually, as the book goes along, the character starts to develop. And then I have to go back and replace that placeholder dialogue with actual dialogue that this fleshed out character would then actually speak. There's my cat Bozo. He's going to be goofing around down here and knocking on the table and such. But he's a big cat and he can do what he wants. Right, Bozo? He wants some scratch. Actually, here's what he wants. He gets special food. And as soon as I open this, two of the other cats are going to run. And there's Wookie. And they're going to want the food too. I picked the wrong time to film to have this conversation, Muse. Now you're going to hear Bozo crunching. It's okay. I can work with this. I'm a professional. So, I don't even remember where I was. But yes, I remember where I was. So, I prefer, just like I do as an actor, I prefer to know what drives these characters, what their spine, their wants and needs are before I start memorizing their lines. Because right now, they're just words. There's no intention driving these lines. So they're very difficult to memorize. The second I start moving about on a taped out set in a rehearsal stage with other characters, the lines will begin to make sense. They'll become easier to remember because I will have intention behind them and purpose. But right now, they're nothing but words on a page. And that, to me, I believe says so much to writers and actors as well, that to just put words on a page is not enough. The words have to be driven by the intent of the character speaking them. And if they're not, then they're just generic words that anyone can say. And that is doing your craft and your work a disservice. And yeah, I don't have a choice. I have got to memorize these lines. And I or worst case scenario is I have to have them somewhere embedded in my brain such that when we do start rehearsing them, something will click and I'll just remember them. Because right now, I'm like, I'll go over a portion of a scene in a little bit or tonight. And then tomorrow I'll go back over that portion of the scene. I'll be like, I don't remember. What was it? And, eventually the more you do it, I've probably gone over the first 3 pages 50 times trying to just remember them. And, it's not happening yet because I don't know the character. And I can't know the character until the character starts to relate to the other characters. And that's important to me. It's important to me as an actor. It's important to me as a writer. Characters, I don't believe that characters come to life until they have until they have other characters to relate with, until they have circumstances put in their way, until their wants and needs are blocked. Once that happens, they come to life. And I begin to know these characters. And so it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable reading or writing words on a blank or words on a page. To me, that's lifeless. And when and the irony is, when you read this play or any given play, there's so much life to be found. And I hope that, or at least it is my goal. I have a dishcloth in my hands. Actually, it's not a dishcloth, it's a napkin. Because we're one of those families. We use cloth napkins. I believe that in order for a book or a play to truly be viable, not just viable, but to be worthy of touching the human heart and soul, these characters have to live. Eat with your mouth closed. Good gravy. and for these characters to live, they have to interact with other characters. They have to interact with set pieces and have intention and purpose and actionable, I hate that word, active intention. They have to have active intention. And, and that crosses the boundary between plays and literature. You always hear of active and passive voice, and the same thing holds true with characters on a stage. They have to be active. The second you put a passive character on the stage, no one's going to want to pay attention to them. And when I'm trying to memorize character lines for a character, and I don't have anything in mind, I have no active or passiveness in mind, because right now it's still a blank character. It is so hard to memorize. And yeah, I gotta take the special food away from Wookie, because she's not sick. I feel bad. I hate taking food away from Wookie. And she's pouting now. That's okay. Anyway, sorry for the interruption, Muse. I'll get these memorized. And I'll get them memorized to the point where once we start working, it's all just going to fall into place. And, same thing happens with my written work. It's very interesting when you're creating a new character and you're struggling with that character, and the character you're kind of, at first you're kind of missing the mark with the character. It's hard to write. But the second everything gels and you've figured out the character, and you know how the character talks and speaks and walks, and what their intentions are, and what their needs and wants are, they just writes itself. The dialogue just kind of flows out of your fingertips like sperm at a brothel. Did I just say that? That might be Angela talking. I don't know. So right now, Muse, because of this, I'm not writing anything, and it's driving me crazy. And it's only been a couple of nights since I started writing this short story that has no purpose right now. But I'm lost. When I'm not writing fiction, I feel like a fish out of water. And even though I know that I've got this to do, this is almost like busy work right now, just memorizing these lines, and it doesn't feed my soul. Once I start rehearsal, everything will change. But for now, I'm longing to get back to writing. But I know I at least know that the editor is working on POTUS, and hopefully I'll have POTUS back soon to start working through. So that'll give my author brain something to focus on. And but in the meantime, whoo! Anyway, that's all I got to say, Muse. And I've rambled on long enough, and I can see you're already rolling your eyes and turning away and looking at your watch. And muses don't even have watches. You don't need to know what time it is. You're eternal. And now the cat's in the litter box. I can't catch a break today. These cats. I love my cats. You know I love my cats. And my cats kind of rule the house. Go figure. Anyway, Muse, thank you for paying attention to me. Thank you for letting me bend your ear about something that might have little to do with you and more to do with Die, Mommy, Die. Anyway, thank you, Muse. Have a wonderful day. I need a hug.